Welcome back. This is the Survive and Thrive series, and together we're here to discover how we can view this experience when it's over as the most valuable or one of the most valuable of our lifetimes, right? There's a lot we can do today that'll put us in a position to feel that way tomorrow. And of course, my name is Nathan Hurd. I'm the Chief Growth Officer of the Oxford Club. Together today, we're going to talk about something I know that's on everybody's mind: money, 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 right? Financial wealth. And those who are financially free have largely gotten there by controlling their psychology in order to make sound and rational financial decisions through an emotionally stressful life, right? There's always something that's a sort of pressure or a stress, even personal stuff. You know, it's like if you get in a fight with your spouse and you go to work that day, you're not the same. None of us are. If you get a flat tire on the way in, it's going to affect the way you show up at work, right? In the same way, those emotional experiences, whether they're economic, whether they are from our health standpoint, whether they are just personal issues, they affect the decision-making that we're capable of making in the area of finance. And that's not an area where we want any more emotion than is, unavoidable showing up, right? We want to reduce the level of emotion we bring to the financial decisions we make in order to make sound and rational choices. And these circumstances we find ourselves in now obviously provide an enormous amount of pressure. Now, I'll tell you, whether you have $1,000 or hundreds of millions, this exercise today is going to help you, okay? You'll see when I get towards the end that there's a little bit of a twist, and I think it's a point you'll find valuable no matter where you are financially and no matter what your current financial objectives or goals are. So, have you ever gone through a period of your life where you started at a certain point and you could only imagine where you might be, whether it was in terms of income or in terms of your level of financial wealth, 10 years from then? And then you got to that level. You reached that financial goal 5 or 10 years later. But once you got there, you didn't feel as financially free as you thought you might, right? That's because, you can have hundreds of millions of dollars, and I know quite a few people who do, and still be in a place of scarcity, and still think more about what you don't have or what's missing than what you do have and the opportunities in front of you. Okay, that's where we want to make the shift today. And so this exercise we're going to go through, I think you'll find to be really helpful in this regard. Rather than making decisions from a place of scarcity, we want to become resourceful, because the reality is you can only build on success. If you have in your mind, especially with money, goalposts that just keep moving and moving and moving, then you're never going to really feel that sense of financial freedom that you want. And if you think about it that way, it's really going to affect the decisions that you make. The level of, I kind of want to use the word desperation, even when you're not actually desperate. It's so crazy what we can do to ourselves because money is so tied to our freedom and our liberty that it just brings up a lot of emotions for us. So let's start. And we're going to go through a quick exercise today. So please pull out a piece of paper, something to write with, and I'll walk you through it. But it's very simple. So what we're going to do is first, and by the way, please pause this because it may take you a couple minutes to work through some of this. Please pause this as we go through. Take the time you need. But I promise you, you're going to thank yourself for taking a couple minutes to go through this exercise. And I guarantee you that you're going to approach the decisions and the opportunities you have financially afterwards with a much calmer and clearer sense of what's possible. Okay, so that's my commitment to you. So let's start by seeing things for what they are. We need to look at the reality, not making it worse than it is if you're not in the best financial situation, but also not making it better than it is. Just looking at it for what it is, very simply, okay? And here's how we'll start. Just to give you some perspective, 71% of the global population lives on less than $10 a day. By comparison, Americans spend an average of $7 a day just on entertainment, and double that, more than double that, on transportation a day. So just to give you some, I hope that gets your wheels spinning a little bit. Now, how much wealth will it take for you to feel financially free? We want to get beyond our kind of survival instincts, which I've talked about in past sessions. Definitely don't want those around money. And we want to get to a place of where we can aspire towards, we know where we are today and we know where we're going to go, no matter which level you currently are. I had the same conversation with my wife, my family, as this all went down and has gone down. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to make 3 columns on the page, and then leave some space at the bottom of the page, kind of a 4th area. And I'll tell you what we'll do with that when we get there. But in this first column, I'm going to ask you to list your sort of basic costs, your basic security costs that you really need as kind of a baseline just to live, survive. And those include the following things. If you have one, what is your mortgage payment each month? How much are you currently spending each month on food? This isn't going to be perfect, obviously. It changes. It depends on, do we get carry out and how often and all those sorts of things. But how much do you need realistically? Just pick a number you feel is fair each month for food. Okay. Next, utilities. And this, I don't mean high-speed internet and 400 cable channels. I mean base level utilities, heat, water, gas, oil, whatever it is, electric, base level utilities. Okay. Roughly speaking, how much do you need each month? We're actually going to put these numbers down. I promise you, even if you've done this before, I promise this exercise will be worth it and it'll give you something else to think about at the end. So I still want you to go through it if you would. And then next is transportation. That could be a car payment. That could be gas each month. How much are you spending on transportation? Do you fly regularly? Do you take trains regularly? And this is imagining, let's think about the future here. We've actually all been given a bit of a gift here in some ways, right? I'm spending no money on gas, which is money that I have back in my pocket now. And there's other areas that are just the same, right? So we've had these little mini wins financially, depending on your lifestyle. So we've got, again, mortgage, food, utilities, transportation, and the last one is basic insurance. So this is, health insurance, homeowners insurance, car insurance, any other basic insurance you need to get by. What are the numbers that represent those basics? So, and by the way, mortgage, rent, whatever it is, whatever your home is, the place you stay. All right, so the next column, once we have that baseline, now we've got our base, okay? And I hope this is freeing for you to have the actual number down on paper. Even if you've done it before, it's a start. I'll show you where we go from here. Next, what sources of current or potential income do you have without changing anything too drastically, without picking up 2 additional jobs or, drastically altering? So I'll explain what that means. Do you have any active income coming from a job you're currently employed in? If so, what is that each month? Or each year, and you can work these numbers out after we're done here. Do you have any real estate holdings that are providing you income currently? Put those in there next. What about Social Security? Are you drawing from Social Security currently? And if so, what's that payment each month? Are you eligible to take any distributions from a retirement account, your 401k or an IRA or anything like it? Okay. And if you could, what does that represent? And then do you have any other passive investment accounts, passive income that comes from investment accounts? Maybe you're reinvesting it currently, but is it there? Does it exist? Could you take it if you really wanted to? Are there any other accounts like that that would fall into the category of income? So again, please pause this and take a few moments if you need to, but get these numbers down at that kind of basic level, and then we can go from there. So once you're done, you should have now a monthly baseline of security, which you need to survive, and then your list of income sources without drastically changing anything too much. All right, so next is where I want you to start to think a little bit creatively. What skills do you have that are monetizable, that you could monetize, right? In this third column, I want you to think about, did you work or are you working? And if so, what skills did you develop or train for throughout your lifetime that you got paid for? What are the different skills that are desirable skills that you used, that you used to create income during your life? Can you drive a car? If so, technically that's a monetizable skill that you could put to use, right? Do you write? Could you write? Or do you currently freelance write? That's a monetizable skill, right? Could you tutor someone? Do you have any particular skill set that you could give back in the form of teaching or mentoring or tutoring? Is there anything like that? Or what are all the different options you can think of? What do you know a lot about that you feel like you could lean on to try to monetize if you had to? And let me be clear here. The reason we're doing this is not to go do these things. It's to expand your mind. It's to create a sense of possibility rather than scarcity, okay? And that sense of possibility is extremely important in making sound, rational financial decisions. And that's what we want, okay? So I'm not suggesting you do these things. I'm not suggesting you go drive an Uber. I know one of our writers, my good friend and colleague, Mark Lichtenfeld, he wrote a whole book on, not driving an Uber in retirement. But I'm not suggesting that. I'm merely wanting you to create possibilities, expand your thinking in this area. So once you have a list of what skills you have that you could, in theory, monetize, now here's the last part. And I think you're going to find this the most interesting. So stick with me. Life and money is always a balance in trade-offs. And you get to decide with almost every dollar outside of those baseline needs, you get to make a choice. We get to choose to spend it on this or spend it on that. And in that is power, okay? And so I want you to think about this, and this is the last part, and maybe the most important part. List out a couple trade-offs you could theoretically make that would give you another way to use certain money being spent in any given area. I'll give you an example. Late last year, I looked at our cable and internet bill, and it had tripled or quadrupled since I initially signed the contract. Usually they give you a starter rate with the contract, and a lot of times it goes up after 12 months into some bigger, more expensive bill. So I merely looked at that and I said, you know what? First of all, we don't really need cable. I mean, we have a streaming service, which is fine. I don't really need to be sitting in front of the TV for hours every day, that's for sure. And my wife and kids don't either. And so we said, you know what? Let's get rid of cable. Let's go to the competitor and they'll give us an introductory rate. And it was like a quarter of the payment. It took them 2 days to come out and install the equipment. I canceled the other account. And in that one move, I'm saving, I think, $1,800 or $2,000 every year. Single move, right? Are there any areas like that? I'll give you another example, a bigger example. I know, and I'm very confident about the fact that if I had to, could sell this home and downsize to a smaller house, and we would be fine. It wouldn't be the same, but I would be perfectly fine, especially, for a year while I rework some things. I love this home. I'm raising my family in this home, but it's okay. If I had to, I know it's a possibility. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I intend to do, but it's a possibility. And that gives me strength and choice. And that's what I want you to look for. So I also don't need, if we go to the grocery store, do you need the, fancier version of the food? Do you need the fine loaf of bread or the cheese or whatever it is? Do you need all those things? Do you need them? Because every time you can find an opportunity to make where there's a potential trade-off, you're creating possibilities, and those are what give you power to make better financial decisions or to give you a better, calmer sense to make the financial choices that you really need and want to make, right? So please take a few minutes and go through this and really think about it. Where are you spending money that you don't need to spend money? You like to spend it there, it gives you pleasure perhaps, but if you really wanted to, you could make a decision to take some of that and put it somewhere else, to invest in yourself, to invest in your future, to invest in, stock recommendations like the ones that I'm sure you're getting from us, to invest in the markets themselves or any other investment. What are some trade-offs you could make, right? Could you swap the car out and get something a little bit less expensive if you had to? Again, I'm not encouraging you to do these things. I want you to think about what's possible, to give yourself a sense of confidence, okay? So, by the way, if you're one of those folks who has hit their level of financial freedom, who money's not an issue for, I still want you to go through this exercise because you're spending money. I spend money in certain areas where I absolutely have choices, and I have made choices in the past to take them and put them in other places, put them towards a certain contribution I wanted to make, reinvest them in, myself or in my family or in their future. There's always really interesting trade-offs we can make. And this is one of the benefits we have with this whole experience is finding those trade-offs. All right, listen, I know that this has been a lot to think about, but I appreciate you sticking with me. And if you need more time, I really encourage you to go take the time you need. Look, finances can be the most stressful when looking at them emotionally, right? And when you have a vague sense of where things are and you're just concerned about what you feel like you're losing or don't have. And looking at them based on specifics rather than emotions is where the power lies. So I hope this initial exercise has been helpful. There's a lot more where this came from and in this area and all the other categories in the coming weeks. But until next time, my name is Nathan Hurd. I wish you the very best. Please send me your feedback and comments. There's a link right below this. I look forward to hearing from you. Any notes, thoughts, concerns, ideas, I'd love you to shoot them to me. I'm always interested to hear what you think. Thanks so much. And until next time, this is Survive and Thrive.